hello. Happy June 23rd. Mark Milam here, your mortgage professional. Let's get right to what's happening with interest rates this past week. Not the world's greatest week. We can see that we had a kind of steady sell-off in a very narrow trading range on the first few days of the week. Yesterday, Thursday, June 22nd, not a particularly good day for mortgage interest rates. And so far today, relatively flat on some rather weak economic data. Just not a lot of data out there to digest, quite frankly, today. So there's just not a lot to report on. Heading into the weekend, we're not seeing a whole lot of activity. So really, what's behind this? If you scroll down and take a look, there's not a lot of data here to sink our teeth into to tell us why we had that big sell-off yesterday. As a matter of fact, initial jobless claims came in a little bit higher than expectations. That's the direction, believe it or not, that we want and need. We need jobless claims to continue to tick up so the Fed can be satisfied that they have a wage recession or a jobs recession on the horizon, so they can take their foot off the gas as it pertains to Fed funds rate increases. Unfortunately, though, that's just not enough of an increase, I guess, to sway the Fed, because our Federal Reserve Chairman spoke in front of Congress in a two-day session that concluded this week and really kept banging the exact same drum that's been banging now for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is we see more interest rate hikes on the horizon. Even when the Fed skipped raising rates last Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, they alluded to the fact that we've got maybe two more hikes this year, although inflation has been moderating. The year-over-year total inflation number has been moderating, with the core inflation number remaining a little bit sticky. This is an important distinction that we need to make here. Inflation this time last year was about 9%. Right now it's about 4%. But the bulk of that improvement is coming across two sectors that the Fed doesn't really control. That's food and that's energy, gas prices. So if you go to the gas pump this time last year, you were paying maybe $1 more for a gallon of gas than what you're paying right now. The Fed doesn't control that. Nor does the Fed control the price of eggs, the price of milk, whatever it might be. So we've been, I don't want to call it lucky, but we've certainly been the beneficiaries of improving inflation overall figure that has absolutely nothing to do with what the Fed is doing in terms of raising rates. And that's their concern, maybe a tinge of ego in there, that what they're doing really isn't having an effect as of yet on things outside of food and energy, specifically around the services sector, which is a bit of a laggard. It isn't directly influenced by increases to interest rate like housing might be, for instance. So we're seeing the Fed continue to keep their foot on the gas, and like anyone who continually tells the recipient that, hey, I'm getting ready to hit you. I promise I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you twice. Get ready. Are you ready? I'm going to hit you later this year. The markets are reacting to that. And we see sell-offs like the one we saw yesterday because this continued steady drumbeat from our Federal Reserve. We've talked about this at length in prior episodes. And until the Fed shifts their stance, until they shift their language, and until they shift their tone, we are not going to see an improvement, a substantive improvement in mortgage rates, even though overall inflation is less than half of what it was this time last year. Certainly frustrating. Got a bit of a surprise on the upswing in terms of new home construction. This is housing starts, really an outlier that no one expected. For May, we see housing starts at 1.63 million. We haven't seen a number like that in quite a long time, since maybe spring of last year. It's such an outlier that a lot of people are kind of holding their water on it and thinking, well, maybe this number is going to be revised down in the coming months. This is kind of typical. Anytime you get economic reports, once the data has time to digest and they go back and audit it, they may revise the figures down. This one is so far of an outlier that perhaps we're going to see a revision in the coming months to bring it down. Otherwise, it's just a symbol that builders are gaining more and more confidence. We're seeing that in the Builder Confidence Index that's put out by Wells Fargo. So we'll keep an eye on that. New construction may be a hot point for housing as we move through the second half of the year, while existing home sales are still way down near 10-year lows. All right, if I can be of any service to you over the weekend, don't hesitate to reach out. Mark.Milam at HighlandMTG.com. Have a good weekend.